Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. It's Avangel, and today we're taking a look at the Edgley Optica, or technically the Aero Elvira Edgley Optica, as it is known now. Now, I did review the Orbx one on the channel before, and this is one you may remember. This is Jonx's freeware model that has been heavily upgraded by the GotFriends team that did the GB and the Discus and a few other ones coming down the line, and it is now a Payware model. A freeware plane goes Payware, you say? That's a bit of a weird concept. Well, there's been a huge amount of work done to this, and it is fair to address the elephant in the room that Orbx already have a freeware one out. Why should you buy this one? Well, I'm not really here to decide if you should buy this one. I can show you the Orbx one, and I can show you this one, and you can take a decision for yourself. Now, having flown both, I will say, and I'm a tester for GotFriends, so I've had access to this aircraft already, I think this is a bit more accurate and a lot more fun. Now, a common misconception with the Optica is its cruise speed is 70 knots. No, that's its loiter speed at 40% power. It's capable of flying at over 100 knots. And this model does offer some things that the Orbx one did not, and I like the aircraft as a concept. I felt the other one lacked a little bit in its utility in the sim. So let's take a look. Now, as obviously you can see, there are 7 liveries for it, and those give you a lot of versatility. There'll be other options, of course. Now, it does spawn on the ground with the doors open, which is kind of a cool difference to most of the sim aircraft. It assumes you're getting in, which is actually kind of cool. Where is the door controls? Oh yeah, the handle, right there. Pull those closed, and you'll notice the dogs from the freeware model are still included, which is kind of cool. And the cat as well, which is really nice. Now you can control that up here with the pet thing, so you've got Kilo hanging. Oh. I think this one has just the dog. This is the dog sitting up. Or is it, then we have both of them asleep or lying down. There is another one I remember seeing in here actually. Is this the one? Oh yeah, there's the cat. Sitting on the seat. That's adorable. Oh, I love it. Okay, so cockpit wise, really detailed. Actually a lot more detailed, I think, and more accurate than the Orbx one's interior. Of course, you've got your fuel tank selections down here, fuel valve, throttle, mixture, trim, indicators, flaps. However, unlike the other one, we have the ability to put skis on. If you see down here, I actually have winter operations with this aircraft, which is a really cool feature. That is something I would definitely use. And if I turn those off, the magic button for the PMS 50. Yes, you can actually have the GTN 750 in here. And you have an autopilot as well, which makes the entire aircraft so much more utilitarian in my opinion. I actually kind of like this as a feature. I think it adds a lot more diversity to what you've got. Now, the GotFriends standard of texture and model work has improved dramatically, of course, and these guys have done some phenomenal work. I really like the look of this one, actually. It looks rather cool. Yeah, that's exactly what you think it is. If I could find the damn view. Where is it? No, it doesn't want to do that. Let's reset this, because the views in the sim are a pain in the ass at the best of times. Yeah, those are all circuit breakers that are functional. So I've pulled that out as the autopilot breaker off. Where's the... What are we looking for here? Oh, yeah, GPS breaker's out. And the starter breaker's out, so it wouldn't actually start, which is a cool feature. But all those should be reset. And in. So we should be good to go there. Let's get this thing started up and take a flight. Because as well, this actually includes storm windows, which is a small, but I think important feature. They're in the aircraft, they should be in the aircraft. There we go, close that off. So this one open. Clear prop. Oh, yeah, sim wasn't registering my mixture being open. Engine start. We're good to go there. Okay. Let's close the storm window. And let's get ourselves taxiing, shall we? Give it some power. And we'll take her out to the runway here. Now, as I mentioned, I'm on the GotFriends beta team. So I test a lot of the aircraft they produce. And this is, let's consider this a live beta test. Because this is the brand new version of 1.5, which is a pre-release version. I've not tried this yet. The last one I tested was 1.3. So there have been some updates and changes and functionality tweaks. So we'll see exactly how this thing behaves. Now, they're working on the manual finalization, so there will be a full manual with this aircraft. Am I going to shill for GotFriends? No. I'm going to be honest with you. But in terms of quirky aircraft, this is one I kind of like. And the fact it includes animals is even better, by my opinion. You can turn those off, you can have them on. It's entirely your opinion. Okay. Flaps going down. Let's get ourselves out onto the runway here, and we'll take her for a spin. Now this of course has fixed gear and is a light aircraft, but it should have more performance than other versions have had. In the past, other versions of this aircraft have always been very underpowered, underwhelming. The aircraft itself is not that underpowered. And oh my god, I've not actually attached my yoke to my desk. All this fuss about trying to get things ready to test, and I forgot to actually clamp it down, so you'll forgive me while I trim this thing out. Professional testing environment right here. Grab a clamp, attach my alpha yoke to my darn desk, which is something I thought I'd actually done, but I hadn't apparently, so there you go. Okay, flaps coming up. Throttle is currently full, and we're climbing at a pretty reasonable speed. Performance on par with the Cessna right now. Ballpark 172 in terms of climb. Speed is good. I'm going to bring us around so we're over land so I can actually see a lot more in terms of what we're testing. Now, some have said it's overpowered. I don't believe it is. Because by its numbers, it should be able to fly plus of 100. Now, you're talking about running into stress speeds there, but just about 100, just under 100 is really where it should sit, which is a realistically decent number for flying somewhere. It's not fast, but it's not slow either. And I will say the Orbx version felt incredibly sluggish. It felt very lethargic, weak-engined, slow to climb, and whilst I really liked it, it did feel underpowered. Now this version, I'm flat out on the engine here in a... I'm going to straighten ourselves out, get ourselves straight and level. There we go, just about straight and level here, and it will just about approach overspeed and level flight, which with this engine should be possible. We're climbing again, it really wants to climb. Let's pull the power back here. We are redlining the power there, so let's put ourselves in the green here at 25 inches there. Oh, that's RPM, so it's 2500. Aircraft is happy to fly along at this, and our speed is dropping to about just about 100 knots. Responsiveness is good here, visibility is phenomenal. It does feel very helicopter-y. I'm going to bring ourselves round here. We're going to come in for a landing. As soon as we get down on the deck, I'm going to switch into the Orbx version. You guys can take a look at that and see what you think for yourselves. Because it's hard for me to basically try and say this version or that version is better at this or that when you can't compare the two. So we're going to compare the two directly. This is not some sort of peeing match where I'm going to say one is better than the other because I like one or the other. You decide for yourselves. I'm here to show you guys the options, let you guys make the judgments, and decide what you want to do. It's your money at the end of the day. I believe it's going to come out at a promotional price initially, and then ballpark $20 later down the line, so it'll come out at the same price as the Orbx one initially, as far as I'm aware. I might be wrong, but I believe that is the case, so about 10. Okay. we're coming in a little fast and a little high here. But that's not going to be a problem right now. You have to remember this has got a very short landing gear. And I'm rushing this to make sure I can fit 2 flights into one video. And we're over flap speed right now. Pull those up. Looks like we're doing this the hard way. Not my finest landing, but we're going to see what we do with this. Clean, no flaps. I'm still quite quick. This is a pretty slippery plane. At least the way it's behaving. How accurate that is, I can't tell. And for the speed I'm coming in at, this is not an unrealistic approach. It's definitely wanting to come in. It's not really floating too badly. Losing speed now. And I'm touching down. Okay, so flapless landing is not really a problem. The plane would do that. Now let's go around here quickly and make sure we get a quick look at how it behaves with an actual flap landing. There we go. Give it some trim. Get the nose up here. Bring her around into a quick circuit so we can get ourselves set up again for a second approach. Oh, hello. A little bit too much there. Okay, pull the power back a notch here. I will say the modelling detail is very nice on this version. Very nice. I really do like it. And I do like the ability to have the more advanced navigation systems and autopilot here. That's a cool feature. I really think that's important to add utility in the sim. Especially with a plane that flies about this speed. You're not going anywhere in a real hurry. Having the autopilot's nice just to allow you to relax on a flight because it's not real life. You want to be able to go get a drink or go to the bathroom. You're not expecting those things, so it is very much a good idea to have that ability. However, right, runway is there. It's going to be a little tight circuit here, but we should be okay. Going to pull the power now and keep our speed lower. And this will be a full flap, slow as we can approach, see how the aircraft wants to behave. So at a more high speed, you can come in with no flaps, it will manage it just fine. You can fly it onto the runway practically. Not a problem whatsoever. Okay, let's get some flaps in here before we start our turn. Okay, we're going full flaps in here. A little bit of power to make sure we balance this out. This will turn very tight at low speed. Of course, its loiter speed of performance on a scene is about 70 knots. We're going to be a little bit slower than that because we're actually making a landing approach. We're going to stay above our ballpark here. Yes, that's 40 knots. A little bit of stall horn. I'm not worried about that right now. I'll give it a little bit of power just to meter that out. I'm trying to be as slow as possible. Remember, stall horn's within 5-10 knots of actual stall, so it doesn't worry me right now. Little power. Come on, little power. I'm deliberately doing this with the stall horn, so don't be afraid. I'm trying to keep it as slow as possible here. This is not realistic, but I'm trying to just be as slow as I realistically can be. Drop my nose a little bit here. Just over 40 knots. Come on. Just hit that displace threshold. A little bit off to the left here. Oof, touchdown. Yeah, that's not bad at all. It is a very nice aeroplane, and even from the outside, it does look good. And the cats and dogs is a plus feature for me. So there you go. Let's go take a look at the Orbx one. So just to remind you folks what the Orbx one looks like. This is it. Very similar in external cases at least. Pretty nice model. I think you'll agree. Let's go inside here. It does feel a little bit more confined, and the floor detail is a little bit less. Seats look a little bit more retro. And the purple colouring is just this particular model. Now the doors do open, but you'll notice no storm windows there. You unlatch it here, and door pops open. Arguably very similar. Now we do have transponder, of course, but we do only have the functionality there. Now we do have some circuit breakers, of course, but not many. And this aircraft does seem to be limited in terms of where I can move the camera, so I can't get a full perfect view there. Okay, let's get ourselves cranked up here and good to go. So let's make sure our mixture's set. Tank is selected left. Tanks are open. Okay, so starter key's up there, by the way, in case you're curious. Right here in the mags. Those are ballast position warning indicators, so not functional really in the sim. There's a fire truck wandering around here. Let's take this bad boy out, give her a quick spin around the paddock, and see what she does. Now, like I say, it feels a little bit more claustrophobic. The whole cockpit seems narrower, and a little bit more confined. This bar here feels like it's much more in my vision. Now, I'm not actually in the right position for the seat. That would be technically... I can't go far enough over to be actually accurately in this seating position. So, let's taxi out to the runway here. It does feel more sluggish and more slow. Now, you'll notice the indicators on the actual airspeed are in the same ballpark in terms of speeds, although it does go a bit higher than 100 for the actual green arc, which is different. I definitely don't believe it goes that fast. Right, kick a notch of flaps in here for takeoff. Turn ourselves onto the runway and we'll just keep it rolling here. No worry about sticking around. Decent power here on its initial roll. Coming up to 60, which is apparently where this one wants to go off the marker. I could have been reading my airspeed indicator wrong earlier and thinking 60 was 40. I might actually be blind. I do wear glasses. So you'll notice here our climb out is a lot more sluggish. In fact, keeping the speed is actually a lot harder here because it wants to, at all costs, lose that speed. Let's get the flaps up here. Build 70 knots. And it's immediately wanting to drop that off here. We're not getting quite the same climb performance. Come round to the left here. We've got some speed now. We drop the nose to level, but not a ton. Of course, no autopilot functionality in this one. Spin her around here. Speed is struggling, I will be honest. The other version, and the GotFriends one, by the way, has a GotGravel handling line, shall we call it, a flight dynamics. And so far, his flight dynamics for aircraft have been reasonably on the numbers. I tend to like what he produces. It tends to be accurate to the performance values of the aircraft. The ones he's done so far have been good. Some people may disagree. I kind of like them. I find them accurate to the feel of the aircraft, which is often the most important part. So you notice here I'm still full throttling and I'm slight climb. Okay, we'll let the nose drop down a touch here, but it wants to put the nose up the same way. So both have that same tendency to want to climb on full power. It's a quirk of the aircraft. So we're just about straight and level here. Come on, put your nose down again. This one, the whole Optica, it seems in both variants, really want to climb. Especially in cruise. Okay, so we're at a slight descent leveling out. It will get up to 100, but it seems like it takes a lot longer, and the seesawing on the pitch there. So we're going to pull the power out here, and this one is a lot more draggy. It immediately drops to within flap range, and I can deploy flaps. So when I begin a diving turn to the left to line us up with the runway, and this will be a real diving turn here because we need to get our nose down. I'll keep it up at least for the time being because we're over speeding. And I'm well off the actual runway heading here. I'm trying not to mess around so this video isn't too long. Rolling around now. Burning up speed pretty well. Give it a second notch of flaps. This is going to be a relatively steep approach, but we're losing airspeed and altitude pretty well. Keep it straight and bring her down. The handling is relatively similar, although this does feel a lot heavier. It feels much heavier, and the climb out performance is much more sluggish. So we're about 70 knots right now. Pull the nose up here. I'm drifting. Come on, get your nose up. It really doesn't want to pull the nose up. I'm putting so much back pressure here to keep the nose up. Floating half the runway. So heavy. And we're down. That was extremely heavy. Like, I never normally have to put that much back pressure on. And trim was a little bit aft, but not too bad. Okay, so visually I'd say less pleasing. Less features for sure. And the performance does feel similar, but a lot more sluggish. It takes more time to get up to speed and more time to climb. And it almost feels floatier, but also at lower speeds, lower altitudes, the pitch is much less responsive. Which, based on the actual aerodynamics of the Optica, could be more accurate. I'm not sure. It would make sense. We don't have the prop wash in the same way, but it shouldn't affect it because we have a single bar elevator in the back behind where the actual engine wash is, so it should work. Both should operate the same. There is a distinct difference though. This definitely has a heavier nose to it, and I will say the cockpit placement and your viewpoint in the cockpit I think is much more restricted in this version. It feels a lot more rustic is the best word to use. So, like I said, yes, I'm a tester for the GotFriends one. They offered me the chance to make a pre-release video here, not promotional, a preview, and I thought it's not fair for me to review an aircraft that has one already on the market and not show you what is the same and what is different in both of them. I feel, to be honest with you, I have to show you both. To be straight with you, if I had to pick, the GotFriends one every day. The features are more fun. I like the cat and the dog. I like the navigation capability, the autopilot, the GTN support. I feel the cockpit modeling's nicer, and little details like the storm windows are present. So, and yes, there is sound when you open the storm windows. I didn't show you guys that. I apologise, but that does exist. So, decision is really yours. Which do you prefer? The Orbx or the GotFriends? Like I say, both are coming out at the similar price, and I'd say for the work put into it, it would be reasonable. So, make your decision. I'm not going to influence you either way. I won't give either of them a score. Make the choice yourself. Thanks for watching. Bye.